And joining us right now, former Attorney General for the Commonwealth of Virginia, Ken Cuccinelli, who was just in Iowa. Were you caucusing for any of the candidates, Mr. Attorney General?
Yeah, I spoke for Senator Cruz at Winterset, Iowa, the birthplace of John Wayne.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
How cool is that? Yeah.
And your
Yes, it is.
And your candidate won. So let me add, did he just do a John Wayne on us? Did he just?
Yes, I did.
Well, let me just say he tried to do John Wayne.
Hold on, no, I think that was that was a pretty good effort. Let's hear. Can we do a little bit more?
I'm not doing any more.
All right. So Ken Cuccinelli, I got to ask. So here's the question. Absolutely a stunning victory for Ted Cruz yesterday. More votes than any Republican has ever gotten in an Iowa caucus. And he won on conservative principles. You got to hand it to him. He goes to Iowa, says no more ethanol subsidies, and he wins. Here's the question. 4 years ago, Santorum won Iowa. 8 years ago, Huckabee won Iowa. How will Ted Cruz be different?
Well, first of all, the whole field is different. I mean, this is a spectacularly talented Republican field, and when Rick won 4 years ago, he was really sort of the conservative that popped at that time. And 8 years ago, Mike Huckabee was really the only conservative. So this whole dynamic is very, very different. And, you know, you've got Donald Trump, who is truly unique. I mean, I don't know where you place him in all sorts of spectrums, but he makes for a very different dynamic. And then you have a whole bunch of establishment folks. Rubio popped to the top in Iowa on those, but John Kasich is leading them in New Hampshire. So, you know, this is yet to play out. One of the things about Iowa is it tends to give momentum to some people, in the case of Ted Cruz, and take it away from others in the case of Donald Trump.
Right.
But we'll see how much and how much it matters as we roll forward into the next three early states, and then we get to Virginia on March 1st. Along with a whole bunch of other states. The biggest single day of the primary calendar for Republicans is Super Tuesday, and it's less than a month away now.
So, Ken, I was talking to a lot of evangelicals. I went to a church service on Sunday. I talked to them, and at least on Sunday, the conversation went like this. You know, I like that Ted Cruz. I like that Marco Rubio. I'm trying to decide between those two. And in the final result, I mean, Rubio did have a pretty good night. He came in third, but, you know, not too shabby a showing considering how fast he made up ground. What do you think in the final analysis was the thing that sent more people to Ted Cruz over Marco Rubio?
Well, you know, I haven't studied it in detail, but I will say the one piece that I took from the exit polling that I thought was very powerful was he dominated among those who said he shares my values. Mm-hmm. And in Iowa, that was a very, very big deal. And, you know, as you move to New Hampshire, when you think of libertarian, for instance, you think of Rand Paul, but the next guy on every issue from a libertarian perspective is Ted Cruz. And so he has a lot of cards to play in New Hampshire. And, you know, can he keep that kind of connection going? People who share my values. That's a very strong bond that goes beyond any particular issue.
But I'm wondering how much time
it with his consistency over the years, it imbues a lot of trust.
I'm wondering, though, would you spend a lot of time in New Hampshire, or would you just go to South Carolina? That's what I think I would do if I were Ted Cruz.
No, I think, well, of course, you went right to New Hampshire. You just can't skip an individual state like that. I mean, Donald Trump skipped the only Iowa debate.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, look, I was there for the weekend. I'd have been there sooner, but for a particular airline that will remain nameless. But I made phone calls for 6 hours on Saturday, and I door knocked on Sunday, and it is amazing how many Iowans intentionally stay undecided until the end.
Yeah.
And I don't think Donald Trump lost any of his people because he didn't come to the debate. But I'll tell you what, he weakened his case badly with the undecideds.
Yeah.
And they make the difference, and they always do. And I spoke at a set of precincts that had almost 600 people there, and there wasn't even a Trump person speaking.
Yep.
I mean, the Cruz machine was well-oiled in Iowa, And I'm a grassroots guy. I know what I'm looking for, and when it comes to that, they really kick tail on the grassroots front. And the secret army for Donald Trump was so secret that in some places it didn't show up.
Ken, by the way, not only Trump not showing up at the debate sort of hurt his cause with undecideds, it also gave Cruz and Rubio that much more time to be in front of them. I think that was also a critical thing. Can I ask you this, though, Ken Cuccinelli? I think it's fascinating that you caucused for Ted Cruz, because I have dear friends in the Commonwealth of Virginia who are Republicans, conservatives, and they actually hold very bitter resentment toward Ted Cruz because of you, because of your candidacy. They think that Ted Cruz and his filibuster, the government shutdown that happened right before the gubernatorial election, they think that Ted Cruz actually hurt your chances to win as you were narrowing that gap and making the case against Terry McAuliffe and Obamacare. Can you address that? Because I think there are a lot of Virginia Republicans who would love to hear your opinion on this.
Look, every battle has casualties. And if you're but what do we complain about as Republicans all the time? Gosh, why don't these guys fight for what they say they believe in? I am not going to hold against a guy that he actually fought for what he said he believes in, as a result of those kinds of consequences. One of the things I found door to door is even people who don't support Ted. I remember specifically being at the doorstep of a Jeb Bush supporter on Sunday, and she said, she branded herself a moderate Republican. She said, but I'll tell you this, I really like that he does what he says he's going to do and fights for his principles. I mean, this is someone who wasn't going to caucus for him. And that approach, that whether you agree with him or not, you know where he stands, and you know he will fight for his principles that he has articulated so well, is a very strong attraction. And when you cast that forward to the general election, when you've probably got Hillary Clinton as your opponent if she hasn't been indicted, then she is seen as very untrustworthy.
Ken Cuccinelli, we got to leave it there. Debuting your John Wayne impersonation and making the case for Ted Cruz. Thanks for joining us today.